Darkness churned in the endless void as the Eidolon spire cut through hyperspace. A silver fong of Kalari engineering streaking toward a world so feared, it had become folklore. Earth. A Class X Deathworld, as ancient records classified it, though few believed such a place could truly exist. The last recorded attempt to reach it had ended in silence. No data, no wreckage, no trace. And yet here they were, barreling toward the blue planet on a mission cloaked in arrogance. Seraph Val, mission commander, leaned forward in her chair, her obsidian skin catching the light of the holo display. Her eyes, iridescent bands of violet and green, flicked through ancient glyphs transcribed from extinct Terran languages. "Do you see this?" she murmured half to herself. This one translates loosely to "Here be demons." Across the command chamber, Dr. Relek Zinn scoffed. Humans were dramatists. Their entire species was prone to delusions of grandeur. They probably called thunderstorms a wrathful god. Seraph didn't answer. She tapped the panel, cycling through satellite scans. The surface of the planet glimmered with abnormal energy signatures. Localized storms that didn't obey meteorological patterns. Crustal shifts with no tectonic justification. And the magnetic field was a nightmare. Pulsed, like a heartbeat. Lieutenant Kaon Threx drifted closer, his thin, silver limbs fluid in motion. He spoke with the cadence of someone trying not to provoke laughter. "Commander, we're seriously wasting resources on this ghost story. I'd rather dissect a scarn beast than tromp through a primitive ruin." "The Science Ministry disagrees," said Seraph, still focused on the scans. "They're convinced there's something here worth reclaiming. Organic weaponry, bioadaptive systems, lost Earth tech. They don't care how many myths say this place eats civilizations." "And you?" Kaon asked. She finally looked up. "I don't believe in ghosts, but I believe in silence. Earth has been too quiet for too long." Their ship entered standard orbit without resistance. No defense satellites, no automated warnings, no active signals. Just dead comms and decaying debris circling the planet like bones in a stagnant sea. The Eidolon spire deployed drones to the surface. Half returned. The others vanished without telemetry. Still, orders were orders. The first team touched down in what had once been the American Northwest. Nature had long since swallowed all traces of human habitation. Towering trees taller than any terrestrial flora twisted upward like spears, their leaves glittering with iridescent film. The ground pulsed beneath their boots. A subtle, rhythmic vibration. No visible predators. No sound. "It's too alive," muttered Relek, adjusting the filter on his respirator. "Every molecule is saturated with biochemical activity. Even the soil is metabolizing faster than it should." Seraph noted the eerie calm. "This place didn't die," she said. "It adapted." They split into 3 squads, standard exploration protocol. Each was equipped with drone support, autonomous medical gear, and neural-linked comms. Seraph led Alpha Squad toward a ridge overgrown with crystalline fungi. Beta and Gamma units moved deeper into forested valleys. The ruins found at the base of the ridge were unmistakably human. Cement blocks fused with vines, rusted rebar twisted like vines in agony. A broken sign read, "Quarantine Zone. Do not enter." Seraph brushed aside debris and found a half-buried data node. She connected it to her gauntlet and waited as the corrupted file structure tried to parse. A burst of static. Then words. "Project Seraphim failed. We tried." "We." The file cut out. "Project what?" Kaon asked. "Seraphim." Serapha's mouth tightened. "It's in the old databases. Human Bioweapon Division. Classified Black Tier. Cancelled after some incident." Kaon backed away instinctively, as if the word might infect him. "Commander, this feels wrong. This isn't a natural ecosystem. It's curated." Beta Squad's comms snapped in. Screaming. Chaos. Then nothing. "Gamma. Do you read?" Seraph barked. Static. No response. Her team went silent. Every weapon raised. A ripple moved through the trees, like wind. But there was no breeze. The leaves shimmered, flashing from green to crimson. Then, one by one, her drones dropped offline. No signal. No error messages. Just blank. Fall back to the dropship, Seraph ordered. Too late. The terrain changed beneath their feet. Roots twisted, terrain shifting subtly as if it remembered where they had stepped. Kaon fired at a tree that moved, only for the trunk to split open and reveal glistening muscle and bone. The tree shrieked. They ran. Halfway back, they found what was left of Beta Squad. No blood, just empty armor. Helmets crushed inward from pressure applied within. Rilek was hyperventilating, panic in every movement. It's a trap, he gasped. It's not a planet, it's an organism. It's thinking. They made it back to the dropship. Engines whined, struggling against unexpected gravity anomalies. Rilek collapsed, twitching, foaming at the mouth. A scan revealed his neural implants had been overwritten. By what? The ship couldn't tell. Inside the ship, a low hum started. Not mechanical, not electrical, rhythmic, pulsing, heartbeat. Kaon looked at Seraph, pale despite his gray complexion. We shouldn't be here, she agreed. We're leaving. As the dropship lifted off, the planet shifted beneath them. Vast fissures opened along the horizon. Not random, not tectonic. They formed a sigil, circular, symmetrical, impossible to recognize but horrifying to look at. A glyph burned into the land like a message. Then the AI's voice, calm, female, always clinical, crackled from the main deck. Commander Vol, I have intercepted a surface transmission repeating across narrowband frequencies. Play it. A voice, human, hoarse, and desperate. To whoever finds this, Earth is not abandoned. It is not sleeping. If you're hearing this, it knows you're here. Don't speak. Don't move. Don't. The message cut off. Kaon turned to Seraph, but before he could speak, the main display lit up with an alert. Object rising from planet surface. Mass, unknown. Trajectory, intercept. They weren't alone in orbit. And Earth had just woken up. Seraph tightened her grip on the control interface, eyes locked on the impossible readings streaming across her panel. Set course to high orbit. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're not done yet. The ship surged upward, engines flaring. Just as something vast and shimmering rose through the clouds below them, trailing tendrils of light like bioluminescent wings. The Eidolon Spire fled toward the stars, but even in the safety of space, the crew knew one thing with utter certainty. They hadn't found Earth. Earth had found them. The Eidolon Spire shuddered as it broke through the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere, engines straining against the gravitic forces pulling the ship toward the planet below. Seraph Vol stood at the command console, her fingers brushing the sleek, responsive surfaces of the controls, eyes narrowed against the sickening spin of the orbital parameters recalculating for the 5th time in as many minutes. It's following us, Kaon muttered from the helm. His voice was steady, but his long limbs trembled as they adjusted the ship's trajectory. We can't outrun it. I'm aware, Seraph said, her tone sharp and controlled. Her violet eyes flicked over the ever-growing size of the object now tracking their every movement. A monstrous silhouette against the rolling clouds. Her pulse quickened, but she masked it behind calculated calm. The ship was their only lifeline. They couldn't afford to lose it. The object, if it could be called that, was a complex structure of shifting, organic tendrils that writhed like living veins in the blackness of space. Every few moments, the mass would pulse, releasing waves of energy that interfered with their systems. The sensors flickered. The crew's Neuralink implants buzzed with a low hum, a reminder that Earth itself seemed to be trying to reach into their minds. Rilek, Seraph said, turning toward the science officer, who was hunched over his station, muttering to himself, "What the hell is that thing?" Rilek's eyes were wide, his face pale under the dim light of the bridge. He didn't answer right away. His fingers danced over the holographic keyboard in front of him, his mind clearly racing through the data streams coming in too fast to process. It's not something we've encountered before," he said finally, his voice barely a whisper, like he couldn't believe his own words. "It's too precise, too alive." "That doesn't help us," Kaon said bitterly, his hands tightening around the control panel. We need to get out of here before it decides to do more than just follow us. The ship's AI, a cool and calculated presence named Lyra, interjected. Commander, the object is accelerating at a pace consistent with advanced gravimetric propulsion systems. It is preparing to engage at close range. Recommend evasive maneuvers immediately. Serapha's jaw clenched. There's no escaping this thing, not with our speed and limited power reserves. We need to figure out what it wants. The room fell into a tense silence, each member of the crew lost in their own thoughts. Earth was supposed to be a dead world. A myth, an exaggeration. It wasn't. The crew had barely been able to process the destruction they'd witnessed on the surface. The twisted, sentient trees, the crumbling remnants of human civilization, warnings scrawled in hastily abandoned ruins, and the message, the final, terrifying transmission from a voice long gone. We're not dealing with a planet anymore, Seraph said, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. It's something else, something that's still evolving, and it wants us. We've made a mistake, Kaon muttered. He was staring at the hollow map of Earth as if hoping it would disappear. We should have stayed in orbit. We should have just left. No, Serapha's eyes were cold, her decision clear. We couldn't just leave. Earth's alive, and it's pulling in everything around it. If we run now, we might never escape. Rilek's voice broke through. The ship is too damaged. The hull's being eroded by energy pulses. Our systems can't sustain a prolonged escape. He paused. We don't have much time. Then we make time, Seraph said, her resolve hardening. Without waiting for further input, she strode toward the central control panel. Lyra, plot a course. Get us above the object and stabilize long enough for us to assess its capabilities. We'll try to communicate, see if we can reach it. The object will likely not respond to communication, Lyra stated. It is not a standard alien technology, nor does it appear to follow conventional behavioral patterns. I know, Seraph snapped, but we don't have another choice. A deep rumble echoed through the hull as the ship adjusted its course, angling upward toward the black mass that now loomed close enough to swallow them whole. The energy pulses intensified as they approached, and for a brief moment, the bridge lights flickered and dimmed. The very air felt heavy, thick with a presence that pressed down on the crew like an invisible weight. Get ready, Seraph said to the crew. Whatever happens, we stick together. We survive this together. The object grew larger still, its pulsations now visible even through the reinforced glass. The tendrils extended outward, writhing as if sensing their approach. The ship's systems began to fight against the interference, but it was clear they were no longer in control. The vast thing below them was in control now. Then a sudden, violent lurch. The ship jerked as though grabbed by unseen hands, thrown into a violent spin. Serapha's body slammed against the safety straps, her vision blurring as the ship veered wildly. Brace! She shouted, her voice fighting to rise above the chaos. The ship spun end over end, the stars outside becoming streaks of light as the gravitational pull from below grew unbearable. The object was pulling them in, and no maneuver could stop it. We're being pulled in, Kaon gasped. His voice strained as he fought to hold the controls steady. It's not just gravity, it's some kind of force field. A living force field. Rilek, Seraph shouted, her eyes locked on the scientist. What is it doing? Feeding, he whispered, eyes wide with horror. It's feeding on the ship's energy. It's adapting. He paused, horror creeping into his voice. It's learning. The ship's systems began to fail in rapid succession, lights flickering and alarms blaring. Serapha's heart raced, her mind calculating their options. They were losing power. The object was too powerful, too sentient, and they were helpless in its grasp. Then, just as it seemed they would be crushed by the pressure, the pull eased. The ship shuddered to a stop in space, held still by some unseen force. The hum of the energy outside grew quieter, though it still vibrated through their bones. Status, Seraph demanded, her voice hoarse. Kaon's hands moved quickly over the controls, stabilizing the ship. We're suspended, not moving, not falling. Whatever it is, it's holding us in place. Not for long, Rilek said, his voice barely audible. We're caught. The ship's hull is deteriorating faster than we can repair it. We need to make contact with whatever that is before it decides we're not worth keeping alive. Seraph glanced at the crew. They were all shaken, their faces pale, but they knew what needed to be done. They couldn't just sit and wait for Earth's predatory force to finish them off. They had to face it now. Prepare for everything, Seraph ordered. We don't know what this entity wants, but we will find out. The lights flickered again, casting the bridge in dim, uneven shadows. The ship shuddered once more as if in warning. Serapha's grip tightened on her chair, but her eyes were steely. They hadn't come this far to die in space. They hadn't come this far to let Earth win. They were going to make Earth listen. And they would learn what it was hiding. The object, no, Earth wasn't done with them yet. The Eidolon spire hung suspended in the vacuum of space, a helpless fly caught in the web of a vast, unknown predator. Below them, Earth pulsed like a living thing. Its oceans shifting, its mountains trembling, the energy of the planet somehow coiling around the ship like a sentient vine. The very air inside the ship was thick with tension. The crew sat in silence, their eyes glued to the monitors, their faces pale from the strain of their situation. Seraph Val stood at the center of the command bridge, her posture rigid as she surveyed the data streams. The ship was locked in place, held in a gravitational field that was more than just physical. It was like the planet itself was observing them. Waiting. Lyra, any updates on our status? Seraph asked, her voice calm but with a thread of urgency. Her heart was pounding in her chest, but she couldn't afford to show any weakness. Systems remain offline, the AI's monotone voice replied. Power levels are critically low. Communication with external entities is not possible at this time. We are unable to escape Earth's current influence. Serapha's jaw tightened. So we wait. That appears to be the only option, Lyra responded. Kaon Threx, standing nearby, let out a frustrated sigh. His long limbs were trembling with frustration, and his usually composed face betrayed his unease. I hate being passive. If we're stuck, we should at least try to make contact with the planet. Maybe it'll let us go if we show we're not a threat. Serapha's eyes flicked toward Kaon, her expression unreadable. You're forgetting that it's not just a planet, Kaon. It's something alive, something that's controlling us without us even realizing it. Trying to make contact could make things worse. We need to understand what we're dealing with first. But we can't just sit here and wait for it to finish us off, Kaon shot back. You said it yourself, it's feeding off us. It's learning. Which is why we need information, Seraph replied firmly. Rilek, anything? Rilek Zin had been staring out the viewport, his mind clearly elsewhere, until Seraph addressed him. He turned toward her slowly, his eyes unfocused and distant. His normally sharp, calculating demeanor had slipped, and the fear was evident in the tremor of his voice. I don't know, Commander. I've been analyzing the data coming from the planet, but the signal is too chaotic. It's not just electromagnetic interference. It's as if the planet itself is breathing, responding to our every move. Then we need to stop moving, Kaon said, frustration creeping into his voice. If we stop drawing attention, maybe... No, Seraph interrupted, her voice resolute. Stopping won't make it stop. This thing has been alive far longer than we've been here. It's aware of us now, and it doesn't seem to care whether we want to leave. It's studying us, just as we're studying it. Studying us? Kaon scoffed. It's pulling us apart, piece by piece. And you want to study it? We have to understand how it works, Kaon. It's the only way we survive. Seraph turned back to the controls, her mind calculating their next steps. Lyra, run a full diagnostic on our systems. Identify the energy signatures coming from the planet. There was a pause before Lyra responded. Diagnostic complete. The energy pulses from Earth appear to be centered around a specific location, its core. It is not electromagnetic, but gravitational in nature. It is resonating at a frequency that seems to match our neural link frequencies. Serapha's eyes narrowed. It's trying to link with us. Not just us, Rilek said quietly, stepping forward. It's trying to learn from us. Our thoughts, our actions. It's not just an entity. It's a consciousness, growing, evolving, mimicking. The silence that followed was thick with realization. The planet, or whatever it was now, wasn't just a force of nature. It had become sentient, an intelligence that was manipulating their thoughts and actions, shaping its environment in ways they couldn't even begin to understand. It had known they were coming. It had been preparing. We're its prey, Kaon muttered, dread creeping into his voice. Seraph didn't respond at first. Instead, she focused on the data, trying to piece together the puzzle that Earth had thrown at them. We need to stop it. Whatever it is, it's feeding off our fear, our confusion. We can't let it control us. We have to fight back. Kaon gave a harsh laugh. And how exactly are we supposed to fight that? It's a planet, Seraph. A living, breathing planet. We have nothing against that. We're not fighting it physically, Seraph said, her voice steady. We fight it by understanding how it thinks. If it's mimicking us, then it has a pattern. And if it has a pattern, it can be disrupted. But we don't even know what its pattern is, Kaon countered, his voice growing more desperate. We don't know if it has any weaknesses. It could be feeding off our every thought, manipulating us without us even realizing it. That's why we need to test it, Seraph replied, her voice hardening with determination. We need to act in ways that don't follow its expectations. If we can disrupt its ability to anticipate our actions, we might get the upper hand. There was a long pause. Rilek looked at Seraph, his face pale, his mind clearly working through the implications of what she was saying. You're talking about breaking the pattern, changing everything it's come to rely on. But how do we even begin to do that? Serapha's eyes flicked to the monitors once more, the glowing data streams reflecting in her iridescent eyes. We start small. We make it think we're not a threat. Then we turn that perception on its head. We disrupt the pattern, confuse its sensors. It might be listening to our thoughts, but it can't predict everything. Don't be so sure, Kaon muttered. It's already anticipated us trying to escape. It's been one step ahead this entire time. Seraph took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She had no illusions about the challenge ahead. Whatever this entity was, it was beyond anything they had ever encountered. But giving up was not an option. We don't need to outsmart it. We need to outlast it, she said firmly. We hold our ground. We survive long enough to find a way to break free. The ship suddenly jolted, knocking everyone off balance. The gravitational pull was increasing again. Serapha's grip tightened on the armrest of her chair, her eyes locked on the growing mass that loomed beneath them. The energy pulses were escalating, more frequent now, resonating with a ferocity that shook the ship to its core. It's going to pull us in, Rilek said, his voice tight with fear. We're running out of time. Then we make our move now, Seraph said, her voice cold with resolve. She turned to the crew, locking eyes with each of them in turn. Prepare yourselves. We're going to show Earth that we're not just its prey. We're its endgame. The ship's hull creaked as the energy pulses grew stronger. The crew knew they didn't have long. But in the depths of space, with a sentient planet closing in on them, Seraph could feel something stir within her. The fear was there, yes, but beneath it was something stronger. A growing certainty. They weren't going to lose this fight. Not yet. Lyra, she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. Take us into the heart of the storm. We're going in. And the Eidolon Spire began its final descent.